back. Well, what have we got today? Well, we got something a little bit different and something I wanted to look at for a very long time, but I never actually got round to it. But there's a story behind this one. It isn't quite as it looks, and don't be worried about that. It's a good thing. Yeah, well, I think it is. This is the Fender Ed O'Brien Sustainer guitar. And I note, not sustainiac guitar. It's a sustainer guitar. Sustainer's made by Fernandez, but more of that later. Well, hey Tony, what's this one about? Well, I wanted one of these when they were kicking around on the internet a while back, and I'd seen them about 2017 and onwards, maybe a little bit earlier than that. But I never did actually buy one, and I think at the time, you could correct me, I think it was a made in Mexico guitar, and it only came with a sort of carry case and stuff like that. Well, they sit around at the sort of £1,395 from what I've seen in the UK, assuming you can even find one, because I think they might be even discontinued, which makes it just that little bit rarer, I guess. But back to me for a moment. What on earth am I doing with one of these? Well, I hate to say this, but I go all the way back to 1970 at the Isle of Wight. And there was this guy there. He'd been around a while. That's him, Jimi Hendrix. You heard of him, haven't you? Well, if you haven't, go and dig out, go and listen on the internet to Jimi Hendrix introduction at the Isle of Wight in 1970 to Foxy Lady. And he starts talking a little bit. Well, we'll have a little listen to it. I might get away without aggravation of, contractual this or something else. Who knows? Here it is. Have a listen. Like I said, absolutely incredible. The guy starts off just talking over the mic at some of the audience. And by the time he gets to the end of that introduction, which you just heard, well, to be honest, he's screaming, trying to get over the sustain of that guitar, that Fender Stratocaster. It was the black one. Somebody's still got that somewhere. But it was like a moment in time for me where the realisation of a Fender Strat, that's about as far as you could take it. Oh, it's just awesome. But back in 1970, I didn't have enough money for one of these things, a Fender Strat. I remember going into a second-hand shop, or almost like a pawn shop, and they had one there in about 1971. Mark my words, £200 in 1971 was a lot of money. So I never did end up with that 1962 white Fender Strat, although I did have one a bit later. Now then, anybody who's watched my channel over the years, it's been here at least 10 years as I'm making this video, knows I've got a number of Fender style Stratocasters, whether they be made of bits, whether they be the genuine thing, or whether they be completely custom made by me or not. Yeah, I've always liked them, but I could never get that sort of sustain that Jimi Hendrix got, that you just heard. And probably neither could you, because today there's no way you're going to be able to do that. It's just not allowed, so to speak. Yeah. Which takes me back to this guitar. Well, not exactly this one. I always remember seeing Steve Vai as well with a sustainiac on his Gem. Yeah, his 7VWH equivalent. I thought, yeah, I wouldn't mind one of them. But back to this one. Like I said, there it is in all its glory. It looks nothing at the moment, but wait until you hear it. Yeah, I do play a bit of something where it's not entirely metal. It's not meant to be. I want to demonstrate the sustain, and you'll hear that later. So this guitar was a choice for me to get hold of a sustainer in a Strat without hacking it apart and doing all that sort of stuff. That, well, I could have done that, but I really didn't want to sit here with a chisel on a Strat. But there was a problem. When I bought this, I only bought the body. And the reason I only bought the body, well, is because it was cheap. Well, it wasn't that cheap. I paid about, I'm here in the UK and I bought it in America, and I paid an equivalent for about £600 plus about 120 odd pounds or something like that in VAT and import duty and all the rest of it. So for about £720 I ended up with this body. And I think, well, bearing in mind I couldn't easily find one anywhere else for that sort of money unless it had been knocked around and the rest of it, I thought it was a good deal. Maybe you do too, or not. Now there was one problem, because I didn't have an original neck. But you know what, I don't care. I've got good reason to fit the neck on that's on it now. This Ed O'Brien guy from Radiohead, I mean, he's not somebody I listen to. He might be what you listen to, but I'm more of the sustain stuff. That's the only reason I bought this body. No other reason, the sustainer. Yeah, sounds like a real good plan. But on the original guitar, the neck was maple. And it had a smaller headstock than this one here that you can see on screen. And yeah, I'd got this neck, which is an American neck, an American standard neck. And I think it's a 70s neck, this one. Sort of reissue type of thing. But it's got everything that I want on it. So it's on here now. And to me, I think that makes sense. But more of that a bit later. So what I want to do is get a little bit closer, whip the cover off the back. I think first things first, let's zoom in a bit closer and have a look at what's in the back of this guitar. Well, this is about as near as I can get with the Ed O'Brien Strat. I can't really show you that much round the back on camera, but I have taken some photographs and I'm going to put them up there so we can just whip through them and have a quick look at what's inside here and have another look around the back, but I can't get at what really matters on the backboard. So I'll be showing you a photograph of that, and it's definitely still worth looking at, make no mistake of that, because you've probably never seen inside one of these. Well, as you can see, here's a bit of an overview there. We can see the back plate, or the pick guard, and you know, its insulation and all the rest of it, which isn't really that much. It looks like a normal Strat to me. But you can see the pickups, and they are rather out of the ordinary compared to what you would have on a regular everyday Strat, if you follow me. On the right hand side, we've got the Seymour Duncan Jeff Beck Jr. That'll take your Strat to a whole new level. In the bridge position, it's a high output, single coil sized humbucker. It'll give you a nice crunchy chords and screaming leads, Seymour Duncan says. With a classic upper mid-range cut, there will be tons of bright harmonic sparkle and tight focus low end, and you mark my words, that pickup can really cut the butter. You can put that pickup in other places on your Strat, but on this one it's in the treble side or the tremolo side, and that's where it's going to stay on this guitar. Yeah, but the Jeff Beck Jr. pickup is handmade in Santa Barbara, and it's Strat pickups with ceramic magnets, 4-conductor, lead wire for multiple wiring options, so there's no pigs in here. Right. Now I know that middle pickup there, it looks pretty innocuous, doesn't it? But the truth is, well, that's a little bit better than you might think it is. You can pay 70 or 80 or 90 pounds for, well, 70 pounds at least for one of them. Yeah, it's a Fender, a Texas Special. There's probably no guitar in the world that's been played as many people as the Fender Strat, and hardly any other guitars allow for such hardware flexibility and a sort of DIY approach. So it should come as no surprise that Fenders offer a huge range of pickups. But in the Texas Special, you've got loud vintage sound with rich bass and mids, but also sufficient treble to produce convincing, clean tones. And you can use this guitar in clean tones, more of that later. This makes it an ideal pickup for people looking for a slightly more powerful and fatter vintage sound. It brings that legendary Stevie Ray Vaughan sound well into reach. No surprises. Now the thing is, looking at that sustainer pickup, there isn't really that much about that pickup and how it should sound and how it this and how it that and how it the other. It just isn't really around. Fernandez Sustainer is a sustain control system developed to freely control string vibration, and just by turning on the switch and playing normally you can get an ultra long sustain that maintains string vibration endlessly, and I really do mean endlessly. The Fernandez Sustainer creates sustain, one of the most important elements of any guitar playing, by sustaining the string vibration itself. Unlike the effectors, which process electrical signals, the sound is a natural guitar sound. In addition, the Fernandez Sustainer is equipped with a mode selector that switches chordal vibrations and so on and so forth, which we'll cover a little bit later. Yeah, it allows anyone to control string vibrations anytime, any place, anywhere. It's like a martini. What more can I say about that? Let's move on a bit further. Now you'll notice on this Strat, it's got alpha pots. I don't know what's happened to all the other pots that they used to fit in these guitars, but on this one anyway, they're alpha pots. And I think this main body wasn't a USA guitar. I think it was actually a Mexico guitar. I could be right, I could be wrong on that one. Now also, taking a look at the Selector Switch, yeah, it doesn't look a top quality one to me, but I guess it's like everything else. It does actually sound really pretty good. There's no pops and crackles or anything with this one. And irrespective of how it might look there, it actually appears to be a pretty good switch. Now I do also have a little shot of the pot for the second, well, it's called a volume. Yeah, I can't say more about that. Well, not right now, but there it is on screen. Now if you look closely on screen there, you can actually see the little capacitor that they put in for tones, that sort of thing. There it is. And there's a part number of the assembly, pickguard, Strat, Ed O'Brien. Now if you look at the body, with the pickguard sort of semi-lifted out of the way, because it is a bit tight on wires, yeah, it looks pretty nice. Nice stuff that does. It's all solid. It's older, I do believe, and yeah, there's nothing in there that I wouldn't expect to see. So it's all pretty standard to me. But it is nice to know that you've got a quality body on there, and it's not one of these sort of junky things that's kicking around on a lot of the Far Eastern stuff. Okay, well, moving around the back, you can see that there's a Energizer battery supplied as standard. That's already in there, and that's turned on and off by the connector on the end of the guitar body. It's not on the front as you'd normally find it. As you can see here, it's on a little end plate. It doesn't make any difference to me, but it might to some people. You know, some people are a bit picky like that. But anyway, that turns on and off the sustainer circuitry, so yeah, at least the battery to it. Now on this board in the back down here, there are a number of adjusters that you can that you could adjust if you really wanted to, so you can more shape the sustain and the things it does in slightly different ways. I would never bother going in there and tampering with the adjustments, because the fact is this one plays absolutely brilliantly. I've already played it, and it really is good. But I'm going to show you on the screen what's the other side of that board, and if you do want to take it out, you just undo the front two screws and pull everything back. But there are a lot of wires, and I don't really recommend you do that unless you really have to. Don't waste your time going and looking at a board you know, in any meaningful way, because it isn't meaningful and you won't really change much. It's my advice. But looking at this one, as you can see on the screen now, it's actually very well made, as Fender boards in guitars, the ones at least I've seen, are always pretty well made actually, and nothing to shout at there. You know, there's nothing really nasty. It all looks pretty good actually, yeah. So let's take a look at that board that's in there, but from the other side. Okay, well, as you can see, there are at least 4 adjusters on that board. And the illustration on the screen right now shows the usable average settings of the Fernandez Sustainer trim pots. If needed, you can make adjustments to improve individual performance for your technique and style of music, or to satisfy personal preferences some way. But as I said, I don't personally recommend it, but we'll just run through it. Before making any adjustments, you should really verify that the string height over the Fernandez Sustainer driver in particular, that's the neck pickup, and the bridge pickup is properly set to within the specifications that they say, and I'll tell you what they are just while we're here. On the Sustainer, the string height over the pickup is 2/64 of an inch, or 0.793 millimeters. And for the bridge and the middle pickup, you set them so that the string height over the pickup is 8/64 and 4/64, nearer and further away, 3.1 mil to 1.58 mil. So you can get pretty near, really. Yeah, all good. You've got to make sure them are done right, otherwise you will end up with trouble. Okay, looking at that little board, we've got a number of little abbreviations on that board. For example, let's start off as we mean to continue. FGC, you can see that at the top. That's the output control for the neck pickup, which is also the Fernandez Sustainer driver. Set it to match the output of the middle or bridge pickup. You've got another one there called VBC, the vibration control. Turn it to clockwise to increase the Sustainer attack. Note this, if you turn it up too far, it increases the battery drain, so you don't really want to crank that too far. Next one on the left hand side there is AGC. That's the Sustainer gain control. Set it as high as possible clockwise without feedback appearing in the guitar's output. If feedback does occur, turn the control counterclockwise until the feedback no longer occurs. Quite important, as you can guess. And last, we've got the MBC, or the balance control. This balances the Fernandez Sustainer output between the standard and the harmonic modes. This control is typically set to 0, fully counterclockwise. And that sums up the little board that's inside the Ed O'Brien Strat and the settings and adjustments that you can make. Okay, so well, taking a quick look at the actual controls for the Sustainer. If you look at the switch nearest the end of the guitar, if you push it downwards, that's Sustainer off, and if you pull it up, it's Sustainer on, which is all good. But the next one to it, the one nearest to the volume and tones, if you look at that one, it can be in 3 positions. It can be either in harmonic mode when it's furthest away from you, in mix mode when it's in the middle, and in natural mode when it's furthest up towards you. I had mine for the demo, by the way, on the natural mode. Yeah. Okay, so let's just run through a couple of other things on this guitar, in particular the neck, which is a different neck than the original Ed O'Brien one, which had a small headstock and it was all maple. And maple's fine, I don't mind maple, but I had this neck, which is a 70s reissue neck. And it's got rosewood on it and 1 or 2 other things. I'll just show them to you quickly from some of the pictures I took. So you get a bit of an idea how this one's a little bit different than the one that you might find somewhere. One of the things is the Ed O'Brien guitar comes with a custom neck plate. Not a custom neck plate like the one I'm going to show you, but it's a sort of a custom Flower of Life logo, and it says it's supposed to represent the basis of music. Call it what you will, I think it's a load of bunkum. But anyway, I threw that one away because I didn't like it. And you can see the one on the screen, which is my little custom shop one, which I think's nicer. Yeah, there's no question to that, in my opinion. Well, there's the serial number off this neck. This is a US neck made in Corona. And it's 2017, probably March 03. Yeah, give or take. So that's what it is. That's the neck I've got on it. And as you can see a bit further down, or up should I say in this case, I fitted on there actually locking tuners, because I think they hold the strings a little bit better. You don't get any slippage and all the rest of it. And they're a real nice fit onto this particular neck. You can see at the top of the headstock, it's sort of, well, it's the old-fashioned bigger headstock. And for me, I think that's an important aspect. Well, there's a lot of talk about these headstocks and the bigger one or the standard one that we've seen over the years. And rumour has it that it's basically Freddie Tavares and Leo Fender both had this opinion based on science of the time, they say, that the bigger headstock, as per this one here, has more resonance. And if you think about a guitar that wants to have more sustain, well, the resonance and the sustainability of that note is important. So I put this bigger headstock one on, and I think it's lacking on the original. So there, Mr. O'Brien. So if you've got one of these, go and find one of the bigger headstocks, and preferably, a rosewood fretboard, because it does make a bit of difference. Well, I think. Don't you? And just one last thing on it, on the original neck that this came with, it was a 50s maple style neck. That's the one that's originally on it. Yeah, I think my neck's better than you. And as you see on my neck, it's got the skunk stripe on the back. Now try and say that when you've been drinking. I don't know. But there it is. That's the type of neck that's on mine. And I've got one or two bits of information about the neck, if anybody wants to know. By the way, the finish on this neck on mine, it's like a urethane finish, but it's like a matte finish, and that's the same on the front and the back. So it's very smooth, very nice. It's a C-shape type of neck. And yeah, it's a 22 fretter, by the way, and the big frets, like the old 70s style Strats, I guess. So here it is back together, thankfully. And by the way, when we get to the little bit of a playing section, there's not much of it, but whatever there is, it's designed to sustain the guitar, not really to play fast or anything like that. So don't look for the fast playing, there isn't any. One of the things I did want to mention is I've got this guitar tuned to E flat. The strings on it are 38 to 8 indeed, so a little bit lighter. In fact, it's quite light. So this one's been an entirely interesting guitar for me, at least. Maybe for you or not. But I don't know many people that show you the sort of all the ins and outs and the rest of it, and what sets this guitar out as being different than the rest. The sustainer on it, I have to say, is brilliant. It's great for melodic rock. It's almost great for anything, almost, but you can turn it on and off as well. And you've got the benefits of those other pickup styles, those other tones, which I think it has quite a fair bit of value, because there's nothing to faff around with, especially if you play a rock style of music, but it can do it all, no matter what. So how would I rate it? Well, I can't rate the neck. Well, I can actually. The neck's fine. It's a 10 out of 10 for the neck, suited to this guitar. And how would I rate the rest of it? Well, I'd still rate it at a 10 out of 10, because for £600, which is what I paid, plus the tax and VAT, which you can't blame anybody for, takes it up to about £720. But I couldn't buy this guitar, bearing in mind I already had the neck, for anything like that sort of money, even if I could find one, like I said earlier. It's a bit of a difficult thing to do. Maybe there might be thousands of them in the marketplace, but I didn't see them. So I'm not sure it's discontinued or not, but I didn't see any shop with them for sale. Typically, they were £1,395 in England. And yeah, I wouldn't do that. You might. So 10 out of 10 score across the board from the piece that I received. I can't tell you about the the carrying bag and things like that. Oh, and by the way, while we're on the subject of cases, I did buy a moulded case, which is like blue and grey. Cost a fortune in England. It's about £170 in England, rather than the £120 they are everywhere in the world. Go figure. So would I buy it again? Yeah, I would. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. I rate it as being exceedingly good, exceedingly well made as well. And there is little else to say. In any case, I hope you like the playing, because it's sort of trying to show you the sustainiac and what you get, what the benefit of that is. And honestly, I could sustain it all day. Okay, what I'm just going to do, this is the final thing, and then you can go and have a listen to it. I've put a jack plug in here. It doesn't go anywhere. It just sits here. And what I'm going to do is just to, I'm going to play a note, hold it, and let you listen. Hold on. Well, I could go on with that all day, but I don't think I will. I think you get the idea. That's just a quick test. It's not a musical test, but just a test for the sustain. And it does go on, and it could go on all day, literally. Well, that's it for now. Don't forget to go to www.TonyMcKenzie.com. Remember, my owl's watching you, not to mention this one up here. They're always around. And so are these down here. Never mind the one on my back, which is the big mother. Oh, it could be a father. Till next time, get out of here, and I hope you like the guitar review.